"Can I sleep with your dog?" girl asks businessman, and his answer is surprising. William Thompson never imagined that one stormy night would change his life forever. The 42-year-old businessman was reviewing financial reports when he heard the doorbell ringing insistently through the noise of the torrential rain that was lashing Aspen. It was when he opened the door and came face to face with a situation that left him completely speechless. A girl of about 7 years old, soaked from head to toe, was standing there shivering from the cold. Her simple green dress dripped water onto the marble entryway, and her brown hair stuck to her wet face. "Please, sir," said the child in an almost inaudible voice. "Can I sleep with your dog tonight?" William blinked several times, thinking he was dreaming. In 15 years living in that isolated mansion, no one had ever shown up at his door, much less a child making such a strange request. "What do you mean, sleep with my dog?" he asked, trying to process what was happening. The girl pointed to the side garden where Duke's doghouse was sheltered under a small covering. "He barks at me every night," she explained, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Through the fence. It makes me feel less alone when I sleep in the shed over there." William's heart leaped. That child was living in an abandoned shed. Alone. He looked beyond her and could see, even through the heavy rain, the deteriorated structure of the old storage building next to his property. "Listen here, little one," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "You can't be living there. Where are your parents?" The girl's eyes filled with tears, but she remained silent. William felt a tightness in his chest seeing the vulnerability of that wet child shivering at his door. "Does Duke bark because he senses you're there?" he asked, more to himself than to her. The girl nodded timidly. "He's my friend. I talk to him every night before sleeping. But today it's very cold and the shed roof is leaking a lot. I thought maybe—" Her voice faded as she looked at her own bare, dirty feet. William realized she wasn't just asking to sleep with the dog. She was asking for shelter, for protection, for someone who cared. In that moment, something inside him shifted. Maybe it was the memory of his own difficult childhood, or maybe it was simply impossible to ignore the silent desperation of that child. "Come in," he said, stepping away from the door. "You'll catch pneumonia out there." The girl hesitated, looking at him with a mixture of hope and fear. "But what about your dog?" "Duke will be fine for one night," replied William. "You need to dry off and warm up first." As the girl entered hesitantly, William called Martha, his housekeeper, who had lived on the property for more than a decade. "Martha!" he shouted up the stairs. "I need towels and dry clothes down here." Martha came running down wearing her blue robe and with a confused expression on her face. When she saw the child dripping water in the entryway, her expression immediately changed to one of maternal concern. "Good heavens!" she exclaimed. "Where did this child come from?" "It's a long story," murmured William. "She was visiting Duke." Martha looked at him with an expression that clearly said she didn't believe that explanation, but didn't question it. Instead, she hurried to get warm towels. "What's your name, Mo?" asked William, crouching down to be at the girl's eye level. "Lily," she replied softly. "Lily Parker." "And how old are you, Lily?" 7. William felt his stomach turn. A 7-year-old child living alone in an abandoned shed. How was this possible? How had no one noticed? Martha returned with soft towels and a set of clothes that seemed to be from when she was younger. "These belong to my granddaughter," she explained to Lily. "They should fit you. Come on, dear, I'll help you change, and then we'll make some delicious hot chocolate." Lily looked at William, as if asking for permission. He nodded. "You can go with Martha. She'll take good care of you." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. As Martha took Lily to change, William stood frozen in the doorway, trying to process what had just happened. In just a few minutes, his lonely and well-ordered routine had been completely turned upside down. He walked to the living room window and looked out at the wet garden. Through the rain, he could see Duke's doghouse. The German Shepherd was lying at the entrance of the doghouse, looking toward the house as if he knew something important was happening. William thought of all the nights he had heard Duke barking and simply ignored it, assuming it was because of some wild animal or intruder. He never imagined it could be because of a lonely child on the other side of the fence. About 20 minutes later, Lily came down the stairs wearing a pink nightgown that was too big for her. Her hair was dry and combed, and she smelled like lavender soap. Martha followed close behind, carrying a tray with hot chocolate and cookies. "Much better," said William, trying to smile to reassure the child. "Now you look warmer." Lily sat timidly on the edge of the leather sofa, holding the cup of hot chocolate with both small hands. William sat in the armchair across from her, trying to think of the best way to approach the situation. "Lily," he began carefully, "I need you to tell me where your parents are." The girl stopped drinking her chocolate and looked at him with big, sad eyes. "They went away," she said simply. "Away where?" "I don't know. Mommy said they had to take care of some things and that they'd be back soon." That was a long time ago. William exchanged a worried look with Martha. A long time for a 7-year-old could mean anything. "How long ago was that, Lily?" The girl thought for a moment, counting on her fingers. "I think 3 months, maybe 4. I don't know how to count very well yet." William felt a chill in his stomach. A child had survived on her own for months, and no one had noticed. "And you were alone all that time? How did you get food? How did you stay warm?" "At first I stayed in the house," explained Lily, "but then the men came and changed the lock. They said I couldn't stay there anymore because Mommy didn't pay the rent." "And then you went to the shed?" Lily nodded. "I found the keys inside. It was a place for storing tools, but there was an old bed. Sometimes I find food in the market trash, and there's a faucet that still works out back." William stood up abruptly, needing to process what he was hearing. This child had been living like a beggar for months, and he hadn't even known she existed. Guilt hit him like a punch in the stomach. "Lily," said Martha gently, "do you have any other family? Grandparents, uncles, anyone who could take care of you?" "I had Grandma Grace," replied Lily, "but she got very sick and went to live with the angels." William understood the euphemism and felt his heart tighten even more. This child had lost her grandmother and then been abandoned by her parents. "And you never told anyone you were alone?" Lily shook her head. "Mommy said not to tell strangers where she was. She said bad people might take me away if they knew I was alone." William sat down again, this time closer to her on the sofa. "Lily, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. You can't keep living in that warehouse. It's dangerous, and you're too little to be alone." "But I don't want to go to a bad place," she said, her eyes filling with tears again. "I just wanted to stay with Duke. He protects me." "What do you mean he protects you?" "When there's a strange noise at night, he barks really loud. Then whoever wants to do harm goes away." William looked out the window again. Duke had really been protecting Lily all this time, and he hadn't even known. "Look, you're not going to any bad place tonight," he said finally. "You'll sleep here, in a warm and safe bed. Tomorrow we'll talk about what to do." "But can I see Duke?" William smiled for the first time since Lily had appeared at his door. "Of course you can. In fact, how about after you finish your hot chocolate, we go outside real quick so you can say goodnight to him?" Lily's face lit up like it was Christmas. "Really? Really?" 15 minutes later, the three of them were in the garden under a large umbrella. Lily ran to Duke's doghouse, and he immediately came out to greet her, wagging his tail like crazy. "Hi, Duke," she said, hugging the dog's neck. "This is William. He said I can stay at his house tonight." William watched the interaction between the child and the dog, and was impressed by the obvious connection between them. Duke was being extremely gentle with Lily, as if he instinctively knew she was fragile and needed protection. "Duke has always been good with children," commented Martha. "Mrs. Susan used to bring her grandkids here, and he loved playing with them." William nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Who was Susan? Why had Martha mentioned her all of a sudden? "Martha," he said quietly, while Lily played with Duke. "Who is Susan?" Martha seemed surprised by the question. "Mr. William, Susan is your neighbor, lives in the blue house across the street. She always asks about you when we meet at the market." William realized he had isolated himself so much in recent years that he didn't even know his own neighbors anymore. After Emily had passed, he had closed himself off from the world, focusing only on work and avoiding any kind of human connection. "Let's go back inside," he said finally. "It's starting to get cold." Back in the house, Martha prepared the guest room for Lily. It was a room that hadn't been used in years, but Martha always kept it clean and tidy. The walls were painted a soft blue, and there was a single bed with a floral comforter. "It's the prettiest room I've ever seen in my whole life," said Lily with wide eyes. William felt a tightness in his chest. How many children were lucky enough to have their own room, a warm bed, food on the table, and just considered it normal? Lily was amazed by basic things he took for granted. "Good night, Lily," he said from the doorway. "If you need anything during the night, just call me." "William?" she called out as he was almost leaving. "Yes?" "Thank you for letting me in, and for letting me meet the real Duke." "You don't have to thank me." After Lily fell asleep, William went down to the living room and poured himself a glass of whiskey. Martha was finishing up in the kitchen. "Mr. William," she said, approaching. "What are we going to do with the girl?" "I don't know, Martha. Honestly, I don't know. We can't let her go back to that warehouse. I know that, but I also can't just adopt her. That's not how things work." Martha looked at him with that expression she used when she wanted to say something important but was hesitating. "Speak, Martha. What are you thinking?" "It's just, you've changed so much since Mrs. Emily passed. You became very closed off, very alone. Perhaps this little girl showed up here for a reason." William Thompson sighed deeply. "Martha, I don't know how to take care of a child. I can barely take care of myself. You took very good care of her tonight. And did you see how she connected with Duke? This child needs love, and you need a purpose beyond work." William finished his whiskey in one gulp. Martha was right about one thing. He really had completely isolated himself after losing Emily. Over the past 3 years, his life had been reduced to work, home, and more work. "I'll think about what to do," he finally said. "Tomorrow I'll make some calls, see what the options are." "What kind of calls?" "I don't know. Social services, maybe. Shelters. Someone who knows how to handle these situations." Martha seemed disappointed but said nothing. She just nodded and said good night, going up to her room on the second floor. William stayed alone in the living room, looking at the extinguished fireplace. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel completely empty. There was energy there, life, the presence of someone other than him or Martha. He thought of Emily and how she would have handled the situation. Emily had always loved children, and they had tried to have children for years before finding out she couldn't get pregnant. The pain of that discovery had been one of the factors that brought them even closer, but it had also left a void in their lives that had never been filled. Emily would have embraced Lily immediately. She would have taken her shopping for new clothes, would have turned one of the rooms into a colorful child's room full of toys. Emily would have seen that situation as a blessing, not as a problem to be solved. But Emily was no longer there, and William didn't know if he had the courage to open his heart again, especially to a child who would probably be taken away from him anyway. The next morning, William woke up to the sound of laughter coming from the garden. He looked out the bedroom window and saw Lily playing with Duke on the lawn. She had found an old tennis ball and was throwing it for the dog to fetch. Martha was sitting in a chair on the porch, drinking coffee and smiling as she watched them play. William hadn't seen Martha smile like that in a long time. He dressed quickly and went down to have breakfast. Lily was at the kitchen table, eating pancakes that Martha had made. "Good morning, William," she said cheerfully. "Martha made pancakes. Do you want some?" "Good morning, Lily. Yes, I would love some." As they ate, William noticed how Lily seemed more relaxed in the daylight. She asked questions about everything. About the paintings on the wall, about Duke, about William's work. "What do you do at work?" she asked, licking maple syrup from her lips. "I own companies," explained William. "Companies that make different things, like clothes, furniture, things like that." "And do you like it?" The question took William by surprise. It had been years since anyone asked if he liked what he did. Yes, I guess I do." "You just guess?" "It's complicated, Lily." "Why is it complicated?" William looked at Martha, who was trying to hide a smile. It was impressive how a 7-year-old could ask such direct and hard-to-answer questions. "Sometimes people do things because they have to, not because they want to," he explained. "But you're rich, right? Martha said this house is yours and that it's very big. Can't rich people just do what they want?" William laughed, surprised by the child's simple logic. "You're right, Lily. Sometimes I forget that." After breakfast, William retreated to his office to make the calls he had promised the night before. But when he picked up the phone, he hesitated. Who should he call first? What was the protocol for a situation like that? He decided to start by calling Dr. Richard Miller, his personal lawyer. "William?" said Richard when he answered. "What a surprise. How are you?" "Hello, Richard. Listen, I need some guidance about a complicated situation." William told the whole story about Lily, from her appearance the night before to the discovery that she had been living alone for months. "My God, William," said Richard when he finished, "this is a very delicate situation. You did the right thing by taking the child in temporarily, but now you need to notify the proper authorities. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. Who are the proper authorities? What will happen to her?" "Well, first you should contact Child Protective Services. They will investigate her family situation and determine the best course of action. She will probably be placed in a temporary shelter while they look for relatives or a foster family." William felt his stomach tighten. "And if she has no relatives, then she will become available for adoption. But William, I must warn you, the process is long and complicated, and there are many families waiting in line." "I understand. Why are you asking? Are you thinking about—" "I don't know, Richard. I'm still trying to process all this." After hanging up, William sat at his desk, looking out the window at the garden where Lily and Duke continued to play. Their joy contrasted sharply with the weight he felt in his chest. A soft knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. "Come in." Lily appeared at the door, holding something in her hands. "William, I found this in the shed last night. I forgot to show you." She approached and placed an embroidered silk handkerchief on the desk. William felt the air leave his lungs. That handkerchief belonged to Emily. His hands trembled as he picked up the delicate fabric. It was a handkerchief Emily often used, with her initials embroidered in the corner. E-Art, Emily Rose Thompson. "Where did you find this?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "A very beautiful lady gave it to me," replied Lily. "She used to visit the orphanage where I lived, before coming to live with Mom and Dad. She always brought me sweets and sometimes took me to the park." William felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. "Orphanage? Lily, you lived in an orphanage?" "Only for a little while," she explained. "Grandma Grace got sick and couldn't take care of me anymore. Then some men took me to a place with other children, but then Mom and Dad said they wanted to take me to their home." "And this lady, do you remember what she looked like?" Lily nodded vigorously. "She had long, dark hair, just like yours, and she smelled very nice, like flowers. She always hugged me very tight and said I was special." William had to hold on to the desk. Emily had visited an orphanage. When? Why had she never told him? "Lily," he said carefully, "this lady, did she tell you her name?" "She called me Princess, and I called her Aunt Emily. But one day she stopped coming to visit me. The other children said she got very sick." William's world stopped. Emily had known Lily, had formed a bond with her, and he knew nothing about it. "William?" called Lily, seeing that he had turned pale. "Are you all right?" "I need a moment, Lily. Can you please ask Martha to come here?" Lily ran out, and minutes later Martha appeared at the door with a worried expression. "Mr. William, Lily said you weren't feeling well." William showed her the handkerchief. Martha brought her hand to her mouth, surprised. "It's Mrs. Emily's. Where did you find this?" "Lily gave it to me. She said Emily used to visit her at an orphanage." William told Martha everything Lily had revealed. When he finished, Martha sat down heavily in the chair opposite the desk. "My God," she murmured. "Mrs. Emily never mentioned anything about visiting an orphanage. Do you think she was hiding this from me?" "No, Mr. William. Mrs. Emily wasn't one to hide things. Maybe she was planning to tell you, or maybe she didn't know how to talk about it." William thought about his wife's personality. Emily really wasn't one to hide important things. If she had visited Lily regularly and developed a bond with her, she must have had a reason not to tell him. "Martha," he said suddenly, "do you remember if Emily went out alone some afternoons? Maybe saying she was going shopping or visiting a friend?" Martha thought for a moment. "Now that you mention it, yes. She went out on Thursdays, always on Thursday afternoons. She said she had meetings with friends, but she never mentioned specific names." "For how long did this happen?" "Since we moved here, I think. Maybe about 2 years." William did the math mentally. Emily had passed away 3 years ago. If she visited Lily for 2 years, that meant she had stopped going to the orphanage about a year before her passing. "Mr. William," said Martha hesitantly, "what does this mean?" "I don't know, Martha, but I think Emily had plans that I knew nothing about." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. That afternoon, William decided he needed to know more. He called Dr. Richard again. "Richard, I need you to find something out for me. I want to know about all the orphanages in the area, especially any that Emily might have visited." "William, may I ask why?" William explained about the handkerchief and Lily's revelation. "Interesting," said Richard. "I'll look into it and call you back." 2 hours later, Richard returned the call. "William, I found some interesting information. There's an orphanage called Hope Haven, about 20 minutes from your house. I spoke with the director, Sister Margaret, and she confirmed that a woman named Emily Thompson visited the children regularly." William felt his heart race. "And what else did she say?" "That Emily had shown particular interest in a girl named Lily Parker. According to Sister Margaret, Emily had even started the adoption process." William nearly dropped the phone. "What do you mean, adoption process?" "Apparently Emily was trying to adopt Lily for almost a year before she passed. The process was almost complete when she died, and then Lily was placed with a temporary foster family. The parents who abandoned her." "Exactly. They were a family who offered to care for her temporarily, but never had any real interest in adopting her permanently." William sat down slowly. Emily had tried to adopt Lily and had never told him. "Why?" "Richard, can you arrange a meeting with this Sister Margaret? I need to speak with her in person." "Of course. I'll call right now." An hour later, William was driving to Hope Haven. He had left Lily with Martha, saying only that he had an important meeting. Hope Haven was a simple but well-kept building, with a garden full of colourful toys in the front. William was greeted by Sister Margaret, a woman of about 60 with a warm smile and kind eyes. "Mr. Thompson," she said, leading him to her office, "I'm so sorry for the loss of your wife. Emily was a very special person." "Thank you, Sister Margaret. I need to understand what happened. Why did Emily never tell me about Lily?" Sister Margaret sighed. "Emily was planning to tell you, but she wanted to be sure first. She knew you had been through a lot of pain upon discovering you couldn't have biological children, and she didn't want to create false hope." "False hope?" "The adoption process is complicated, Mr. Thompson. Emily wanted to have everything settled before getting you emotionally involved. She planned to tell everything when the adoption was approved." William Thompson leaned forward in his chair. "And why did she choose Lily specifically?" Sister Margaret's face lit up. "Emily used to say Lily was special, that there was something about her that touched her heart in a different way. Lily was a very lonely child, very withdrawn when she arrived here. She had lost her grandmother, who was all she had in the world. And Emily managed to connect with her?" "Oh yes, it was remarkable. Lily opened up completely to Emily. She started smiling again, playing with the other children. Emily would take her for walks in the park. They'd buy ice cream, feed the ducks in the pond." William felt tears forming in his eyes. Emily had found the daughter they could never have, and he knew nothing about it. "Sister Margaret, when Emily passed away, why was Lily placed with that foster family? Why didn't you come to me?" "Mr. Thompson, Emily had mentioned you were going through a very difficult time. She was worried about how you would react to the idea of adoption. When she passed, we thought it best not to burden a grieving man with such a complicated situation. But now Lily is back in my life," said William, more to himself than to the sister. "And that seems to me to be the work of fate," replied Sister Margaret with a smile. "Emily used to say that some things happen when they're meant to happen, not when we want them to." When William returned home, he found Lily and Martha in the kitchen, making cookies. Lily was standing on a step stool, helping mix the dough. "William!" she shouted when she saw him. "We're making cookies for Duke." "For Duke?" "Special dog cookies," explained Martha. "Lily said he deserves a thank you for taking care of her all this time." William watched Lily working intently on the dough with an apron that was too big for her tied around her waist. In that moment, he could perfectly imagine her in that same kitchen with Emily, doing exactly the same thing. "Lily," he called, "can we talk for a bit?" "Of course," she said, wiping her hands on her apron. They sat in the living room and William tried to find the right words. "Lily, you know I was married to Aunt Emily, right?" Her eyes widened. "You were Aunt Emily's husband?" "I was." "She talked about you a lot," said Lily excitedly. "She said you were the kindest person in the whole world, but that you were very sad because you couldn't have little children." William felt a lump in his throat. "What else did she say?" "That she really wanted you to meet me. She said I would like you very much, and that you would like me too. But then she got sick." Lily stopped talking, and her eyes filled with tears. "I missed her so much. She promised she would come get me to live in a real house with a garden and a dog, but then she never came back." William knelt in front of Lily and hugged her. "Lily, I need to tell you something important. Aunt Emily really wanted to come get you. She was trying to do it legally so you could be our real daughter." "Really? Really? But when she got sick, she couldn't finish the process." Lily was silent for a moment, processing the information. "And now?" she finally asked. "Now I need to decide what to do, and you need to help me decide." "How?" "By telling me what you want. Do you want to stay here with me and Martha? Or would you prefer I take you to a place where other families can care for you?" Lily didn't hesitate for a second. "I want to stay here. I want to stay with you and Martha and Duke." "Are you sure? It won't be easy. It will take time to get everything sorted out properly, and some people might try to separate us." "I don't care," said Lily with determination. "Aunt Emily said you were good. And Duke likes you. And Martha makes the best cookies in the world. I want to stay." William smiled, feeling he had made a decision. "Then let's fight to stay together." That night after Lily fell asleep, William called Dr. Richard again. "Richard, I want to start the adoption process for Lily." "William, are you sure? It's a long and complicated process, especially considering the circumstances." "I'm sure Emily started this process and I'm going to finish it." "All right, I'll start preparing the documentation, but I must warn you, there might be complications. The child was under the temporary custody of another family, even though they abandoned her. Technically, they might still have rights." "What kind of rights?" "Well, if they decide they want her back." "They abandoned her, Richard? They left a 7-year-old child living alone in a shed." "I know, William, and that will help our case, but I'm just preparing you for all possibilities." William stayed up all night, looking out the window at the shed where Lily had lived alone for months. It was impossible to believe that a child had survived there, with no one to care for her. The next morning he was woken by knocks on the door. It was only 7 in the morning, too early for visitors. When he opened the door, he found a middle-aged woman with a Child Protective Services badge. "Mr. William Thompson?" she asked. "My name is Jennifer Wilson, from Child Protective Services. We received a complaint about a child living irregularly on this property." William felt his stomach sink. "A complaint?" "Yes. A neighbor called yesterday reporting that they had seen a child playing in the garden of this house, and that they were certain you lived alone." William cursed inwardly. He should have been more careful. "Is the child here?" asked Jennifer. "She is," admitted William. "But I can explain the whole situation. I will need to see the child and speak with her, and I will need a full explanation." William led her inside, where they found Lily having breakfast with Martha. "Good morning," said Jennifer to Lily. "What's your name, dear?" "Lily," she replied timidly, hiding behind Martha. "Lily, can I talk to you?" Just the two of us?" Lily looked at William, who nodded encouragingly. "It's okay, Lily. Miss Jennifer just wants to make sure you're all right." For the next 30 minutes, Jennifer spoke with Lily in private. William stayed in the living room, pacing back and forth, while Martha tried to calm him. When Jennifer returned, her expression was serious. "Mr. Thompson, I need to understand exactly how this child ended up here." William told the whole story, from the stormy night to the discovery about Emily and the handkerchief. Jennifer listened to everything in silence, making occasional notes. "And do you intend to keep the child?" she asked when he finished. "I intend to adopt her officially." "Mr. Thompson, what you did was technically correct by taking in a child at risk, but Lily should have been brought to us immediately. Now the situation is more complicated." "Complicated how?" "The family that had temporary custody of her has already contacted us. They claim that Lily ran away and that they want her back." William felt his blood boil. "They abandoned her. They left her living in a shed." "That is what you claim. They tell a different version." "What version?" "That Lily ran away from home after an argument and that they were looking for her." William couldn't believe what he was hearing. "That's a lie. Lily told me they changed the locks and didn't let her in." "Mr. Thompson, I understand your outrage, but I need to investigate all versions. For now, Lily will be in temporary state custody while we sort out the situation." "No!" shouted Lily from the kitchen doorway, where she had been listening to the conversation. "I don't want to leave. They were mean to me." Jennifer turned to Lily. "Lily, sweetheart, no one is going to hurt you. We just need to sort a few things out first." "But I want to stay with William. He's good to me, just like Aunt Emily said he was." Jennifer frowned. "Aunt Emily?" William quickly explained the connection between Emily and Lily. "Interesting," murmured Jennifer. "That changes some things. Mr. Thompson, I'll give you 48 hours to get your legal documentation in order. After that, if there's no formal adoption process started, Lily will have to come with us." After Jennifer left, William immediately called Dr. Richard. "Richard, we need to speed everything up. We have 48 hours or they'll take Lily." "William, 48 hours is impossible to start a full adoption process. So, what can we do?" "I'll file for emergency guardianship based on the pre-existing bond through Emily. It's our best shot." While Richard worked on the legal papers, William tried to explain the situation to Lily as gently as possible. "Lily, you might have to stay somewhere else for a few days, just until we can get everything sorted out." "I don't want to go, William," she said with tears in her eyes. "They're mean. They used to lock me in the room when I cried." William felt anger rising in his throat. "They locked you in your room?" Lily nodded. "And they wouldn't give me food when I made noise. That's why I ran away. I thought you wouldn't find me, but then Duke started barking every night, and I knew he was protecting me." William hugged Lily tightly. "I promise I will fight for you to stay with me." Aunt Emily would have done the same thing. At that moment, Martha entered the room with a strange expression on her face. "Mr. William, there's a man at the door asking to speak with you. Says he's your brother." William felt a chill down his spine. It had been over 2 years since he'd spoken to Michael, his younger brother. "Michael? What does he want here?" "I don't know, sir, but he seems agitated." William told Lily to stay with Martha and went to answer the door. Michael was there, looking uncomfortable but determined. "William," said Michael, "I heard you're trying to adopt a child. How did you hear about that?" "News travels, brother, especially when it involves Child Protective Services." William crossed his arms. "And I think you're making a mistake. Why do you care, Michael? We haven't spoken in years." "I care because you're my brother, and because I know you haven't recovered from losing Emily. I think you're trying to fill a void through this child, and that's not fair to you or to her." William felt anger growing in his chest. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I? William, you completely shut down after Emily died. You stopped going out, you stopped connecting with people, you stopped living, and now, all of a sudden, you want to be a father to a child you met 3 days ago. It's not like that, Michael." "Then explain it to me." William took a deep breath and told Michael the whole story about Emily and Lily, about the handkerchief, about the visits to the orphanage. When he finished, Michael was silent. You're saying Emily was trying to adopt this child and never told you? That's right. And you don't find that strange? Emily never kept anything from you. She was going to tell me when everything was settled. Michael shook his head. William, are you sure you're not making this up in your head? Trying to create a connection that isn't there? Sister Margaret confirmed everything. And are you sure you can trust that nun? William, you're vulnerable. People can take advantage of that. William was about to explode when Lily appeared at the door. William? She called timidly. Is everything okay? Michael looked at Lily, and William saw his expression change slightly. Hello, said Michael to Lily. I'm Michael, William's brother. Hi, replied Lily, hiding behind William. Lily, said Michael gently, can you tell me how you met William? Lily looked at William, who nodded. I lived in the shed next door, she explained, and Duke barked at me every night. Then it started raining really hard, and I asked William if I could sleep with Duke. And before living in the shed, where did you live? With Jennifer and Robert, but they were mean to me. And before them? At Hope Haven, with the other children. Aunt Emily used to visit me there. Michael looked at William with a surprised expression. Aunt Emily, William's wife, she said he was very good, but that he was sad because they couldn't have little children. Michael knelt down to Lily's level. And are you sure this Aunt Emily was William's wife? Lily ran into the house and came back with Emily's scarf. She gave me this, said it was special and that I should keep it forever. Michael took the scarf and examined it. William saw the recognition in his eyes. This scarf really is Emily's, murmured Michael. Aunt Emily said that when she got better from her illness, she would come get me to live with her and William in a house with a garden and a dog, continued Lily. But then she never came back, and the sisters were very sad. Michael stood up and looked at William. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't know. Do you believe me now? I believe you. And I understand why you want to adopt her. Emily really had plans. So will you support me? Michael hesitated. William, the problem isn't whether Emily knew Lily or not. The problem is whether you're ready to be a father. Raising a child is a huge responsibility, especially a child who's been through trauma. I know that. Are you sure? You can barely take care of yourself since Emily died. How are you going to take care of a 7-year-old? Before William could answer, Lily tugged on Michael's sleeve. Mr. Michael, she said, William already takes care of me. He gave me hot food, a soft bed, and let me meet the real Duke, and Martha makes the best cookies in the world. Michael looked at Lily, then at William. And you? He asked Lily. Do you want to stay with William? Yes, said Lily without hesitation. He's just like Aunt Emily said he was, good and kind. Michael sighed. All right, William, I'll support you, but on one condition. What? If things get too hard, if you realize you're not managing, promise you'll ask for help. I promise. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. Over the next 24 hours, Dr. Richard worked frantically to prepare all the necessary documentation. William gathered everything he had about Emily. Photos, documents, anything that could prove her connection to Lily. On the morning of the second day, Jennifer returned accompanied by a man and a woman, whom William assumed were Karen and Brian, Lily's former temporary caregivers. Mr. Thompson, said Jennifer, these are Karen Smith and Brian Smith, who had temporary custody of Lily. Brian was a man of about 40 who looked like he hadn't slept well in days. Karen Smith was a thin woman with dyed blonde hair and a harsh expression. Where is our daughter? Asked Karen Smith immediately. Lily is not your daughter, replied William curtly. We had legal custody of her, said Brian. When she ran away, we were desperate looking for her. If you were so desperate, why didn't you notify Child Protective Services immediately? Asked Dr. Richard, who had arrived moments before. Brian and Karen Smith exchanged glances. We thought she had gone to a friend's house, said Robert. We didn't want to make a fuss. For 3 months? Questioned William. It wasn't 3 months, protested Karen Smith. It was at most 1 month. At that moment, Lily appeared on the stairs, having heard the familiar voices. When she saw Robert and Karen, she immediately hid behind the wall. "Lily!" called Karen Smith. "Come here, dear, we missed you." Lily didn't move. "Lily," said Jennifer Wilson gently, "can you come here? We need to talk." Lily slowly descended the stairs and stood next to William. "Lily," said Robert, "why did you run away from home? We were very worried." "I didn't run away," said Lily quietly. "You locked me out." "That's not true," said Karen Smith. "You went out to play and didn't come back." "No," said Lily, starting to cry. "You yelled at me because I wet the bed and then you changed the lock. I knocked on the door but you didn't open it." William felt anger rising, but Dr. Richard Miller discreetly held his arm. "Lily," said Jennifer Wilson, "are you sure about what you're saying?" Lily nodded vigorously. "Yes, and you didn't give me food when I cried. That's why I was so thin." Jennifer Wilson looked at Robert and Karen Smith with a serious expression. "This is a serious accusation. Do you have any explanation?" "The child is lying," said Karen Smith. "She was always difficult, always made up stories." "I'm not lying," shouted Lily. "Ask Mrs. Eleanor from next door. She sometimes gave me bread when you forgot to feed me." Robert paled. "Lily, it wasn't like that." "Yes, it was." Lily turned to William. "Can I stay with you, please? They are mean." William knelt down and hugged Lily. "Of course you can, Princess. I will fight for you to stay with me." "Mr. Thompson," said Jennifer Wilson, "do you have the documentation you promised me?" Dr. Richard Miller stepped forward and handed her a thick folder. "Here is everything. Documents proving that Mr. Thompson's wife was in the process of adopting Lily, testimonies from Hope Haven, and the emergency custody request." Jennifer Wilson examined the documents for several minutes in silence. "Mr. and Mrs. Smith," she said finally, "do you have any documents proving that you were actively looking for Lily?" "Documents?" asked Robert. "A police report, records of calls to other shelters, anything that proves you were actually looking for her." Robert and Karen Smith looked at each other again. "We didn't think it was necessary," said Karen Smith. "You didn't think it necessary to report the disappearance of a 7-year-old child?" asked Dr. Richard Miller. "I'll be very direct with you," said Jennifer Wilson. "Lily's allegations are serious and you have no evidence that you were looking for her. Furthermore, there is documentation proving that she was living alone for months." "What about his wife's adoption process?" asked Robert, pointing at William. "She's dead." "The process is worthless now." "Actually," said Dr. Richard Miller, "there are legal precedents for a surviving spouse to continue an adoption process started by the deceased, especially when an emotional bond with the child has been established." Jennifer Wilson nodded. "Based on everything I see here, I will recommend that Lily remain under the temporary custody of Mr. Thompson while the legal process runs its course. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you have 15 days to present evidence that you were adequate caregivers, or you will permanently lose any rights to Lily." Robert and Karen Smith left visibly angry, muttering threats about getting better lawyers. After everyone had left, William sat on the couch with Lily in his lap. "It's okay, Princess. You're going to stay with me. Forever? I'll do everything I can to make it forever." In the following weeks, life at the mansion changed completely. William hired a private tutor for Lily, since she had missed so much school. Martha revealed maternal instincts that William had never noticed, taking care of Lily as if she were her own granddaughter. Duke, in turn, rarely strayed from Lily. It was as if he understood he had a special mission to protect her. One afternoon, William was working in his office when Lily appeared at the door with a drawing in her hands. "William, I made this for you." The drawing showed a house with a garden where 3 people, a man, a woman, and a child, were playing with a dog. In the corner there was a female figure with long dark hair smiling from a cloud. "It's our family," explained Lily. "You, me, Martha, and Duke, and Aunt Emily is watching over us from heaven." William felt his eyes fill with tears. "It's beautiful, Lily. I'll frame it and hang it on the wall." "William?" "Yes?" "Do you think Aunt Emily is happy that we're together?" William looked at the drawing, thinking of the wife who had passed away and left this unexpected gift in his life. I'm sure she's very happy, Princess. 2 weeks later, Dr. Richard called with news. William, Robert and Karen Smith have withdrawn their contestation. What do you mean? Apparently, other children who stayed at their house have come forward with stories similar to Lily's. They're facing an investigation by Child Protective Services. The last thing they want is more legal attention. William felt an enormous sense of relief. And that means that the path is clear for the adoption. It will take a few months for everything to be finalized, but there are no more legal obstacles. William ran to the garden where Lily was teaching tricks to Duke. "Lily!" he shouted. "I have good news." "What?" Robert and Karen gave up. "You're going to stay with me forever." Lily screamed with joy and ran to hug him, with Duke barking excitedly around them. "Martha!" shouted William. "Come here, we have to celebrate." Martha came out of the house drying her hands on her apron, and when she heard the news she began to cry with happiness. "Thank God," she said, hugging Lily. "Our family is complete." That night, after Lily fell asleep, William went to the room that had been Emily's. He rarely went in there since she had passed away, but that night he felt the need. He sat on the bed and picked up a photo of Emily from the nightstand. "Emily," he said softly, "I found Lily, or she found me. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but I know it was you who arranged it all." He looked at the photo, remembering Emily's smile. "She's amazing, exactly as you said she would be. And I'm learning to be a father. It's not easy, but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life." William put the photo back on the table and noticed a slightly open drawer he had never seen open before. When he pulled it out completely, he found a notebook he didn't recognize. It was Emily's diary. With trembling hands, he opened the notebook to the first page. "Dear Diary," was written in Emily's familiar handwriting. "Today I visited Hope Haven for the first time. I thought it would just be a charity activity, but I ended up finding something much more special." William continued reading, discovering page after page about Emily's visits to Lily. She had documented every meeting, every progress, every smile. In an entry dated 6 months before her death, Emily had written, "Lily is the daughter we always dreamed of having. I know William will be surprised at first. He's still recovering from the pain of us not being able to have biological children, but I know that when he meets Lily, he will love her just as much as I do. She needs us and we need her. I'll wait for the right moment to tell William. I want it to be perfect." William closed the diary and looked again at Emily's photo. "You planned everything, didn't you?" he said, smiling through his tears. "Even Lily finding Duke. You knew he would look after her until I was ready." On the last page of the diary, there was a letter addressed to William. "My love, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't complete our plan. But I hope that somehow you and Lily have found each other. Lily is special, William. She has a huge heart and a capacity to love that reminds me of you. I know you will form a beautiful family together. Don't be afraid to love again. Don't be afraid to be a father. You have so much love to give, and Lily needs exactly the kind of love you offer. Take care of her like you took care of me. Love her like she deserves to be loved. And know that I will always be with you, watching over our family from heaven. With all my love, Emily P.S." Duke always knew Lily was special. Trust him to protect her when you can't. William folded the letter carefully and put it in his shirt pocket, close to his heart. 6 months later, on a sunny December morning, William, Lily and Martha were in court for the final adoption hearing. Lily was wearing a new blue dress that Martha had bought especially for the occasion. She held William's hand tightly, a little nervous but excited. "William," she whispered as they waited to be called, "after today, can I call you Daddy?" William felt his eyes fill with tears. "After today, you can call me whatever you want, Princess. I want to call you Daddy William. It's different from just Daddy." "Why is it different?" "Because that way I remember that you chose to be my father, that it wasn't by accident." When they were called for the hearing, William was nervous, but Lily seemed confident. The judge, Judge Howard Williams, was a man of about 60 with a kind expression. "Mr. Thompson," he said, "I've examined all the documentation, and I must say this is one of the most touching cases I've seen in my career." "Thank you, Your Honor." "Lily," said the judge, speaking directly to her. "Are you sure you want William to be your father forever?" "Yes, I am," Lily replied with conviction. "He takes care of me just like Aunt Emily said he would." "And you understand that this means you will be a real family, that he will be responsible for you until you grow up?" "I understand. And I'll take care of him too when he gets old." The judge smiled. "Well, in that case, by the powers vested in me by the state, I declare the adoption of Lily Parker Thompson finalized. William Thompson, you are officially Lily's father." William hugged Lily as she shouted with joy. Martha cried happily in the front row, and Dr. Richards smiled broadly. "Daddy William," shouted Lily. "I have a real daddy." When they left the courthouse, they found a surprise waiting for them. Michael was there with his wife and children, holding balloons and flowers. "Congratulations, brother," said Michael, hugging William, "and congratulations to you too, Lily. Welcome to the family." Lily was a little shy at first, but when Michael's children started playing with her, she quickly warmed up. Back at home, they had a small but joyful party. Martha had prepared a special cake, and even Duke got a big bone to celebrate. That night, after everyone had left, William tucked Lily into bed. "Daddy William?" "Yes, Princess." "Thank you for letting me stay." "Thank you for letting me be your father." "Do you think Aunt Emily is happy?" William looked out the window of Lily's room, where he could see the stars shining in the clear sky. "I'm sure she is very happy, and very proud of us both." Lily snuggled into her blankets. "Daddy William?" "Yes?" "When I grow up, I want to help other children who are alone, like Aunt Emily helped me." "I think that's a beautiful idea, Lily. And Duke can help too. He's very good at taking care of people." William smiled. "I'm sure you two will help many children." When Lily fell asleep, William went down to the living room and sat in the armchair where he had spent so many lonely nights after Emily's death. But now the house was full of life, full of love, full of purpose. He took Emily's letter from his pocket and read it once more. "We did it, my love," he whispered. "Our family is complete." From the garden he could hear Duke barking softly, not in alarm or protection but in contentment. It was the sound of a dog who knew his mission had been accomplished. William stood up and went to the window. In the garden under the moonlight he could see Duke's doghouse where it had all begun, where one stormy night had changed 3 lives forever. He thought about all the coincidences that had to align for that moment to be possible. Lily needing shelter exactly on the right night, Duke barking to protect her, Emily's scarf being preserved, Hope Haven keeping detailed records. But William knew they weren't coincidences. It was Emily caring for her family even after she was gone, arranging every detail so love could find its way. 3 years later, William and Lily were in the garden planting flowers in a new flower bed. Lily, now 10 years old, had grown into a confident and happy child. "Daddy William," she said, wiping the dirt from her hands, "can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, Princess." "Sometimes I dream about Aunt Emily. She's always smiling and says she's proud of us." William stopped planting and looked at Lily. "And what else does she say?" "That our family is going to get even bigger." William laughed. "Bigger how?" "I don't know. She doesn't explain. She just smiles and says some surprises are better when they happen naturally." William shook his head, smiling. Emily had always been mysterious, and apparently she still was, even in Lily's dreams. "Well," he said, going back to planting, "let's wait and see what surprises life has in store for us." At that moment the gate opened, and Martha came running in, looking excited. "Mr. Thompson! Lily!" she shouted. "Come quick! There's someone at the door you need to meet." William and Lily exchanged curious glances and ran to the front of the house. At the door stood a young woman, about 25 years old, holding the hand of a boy, about 5 years old. The woman looked nervous, and the boy was clearly frightened. "Mr. Thompson?" asked the woman. "My name is Rachel Foster. I'm a social worker, and this is Ethan." William introduced himself and asked how he could help. "Mr. Thompson, are you familiar with Hope Haven?" "I am. Why?" "Sister Margaret told me about you and about Lily, about how everything worked out well." William still didn't understand where the conversation was going. Ethan here is in a situation very similar to the one Lily was in 3 years ago. He lost his parents in an accident and has no family. He's in a temporary shelter, but, well, he has a special connection with animals, and he's been spending many nights awake because he misses the dog he had with his parents. William looked at Ethan, who was looking shyly at Duke, who had appeared at the door to see what was happening. Sister Margaret thought that maybe you might consider meeting Ethan. I'm not asking for anything specific, just that perhaps he could spend an afternoon here, play with Duke. Sometimes that helps children deal with trauma. Lily stepped forward before William could answer. "Hi, Ethan," she said gently. "I'm Lily. Do you want to meet Duke?" Ethan nodded timidly. "He's very gentle," continued Lily, "and he has a little house in the garden. Do you want to see?" Ethan looked at Rachel, who nodded encouragingly. "You can go, Ethan. I'll stay here talking with Mr. William Thompson." While Lily took Ethan to meet Duke, William talked with Rachel about the boy's situation. "He's 5 years old and lost his parents 2 months ago. He was very attached to the family dog, but when no one showed up to take care of it, the animal had to be given away. Ethan has refused to talk about what happened, and the psychologists think that contact with animals might help." William watched Ethan in the garden. The boy had sat down next to Duke and was petting his head, while Lily talked excitedly about the tricks she had taught the dog. "Rachel," said William, "can you let Ethan spend the afternoon here? Maybe it will really help." "Are you sure, sir? I don't want to be any trouble." "It's no trouble, and Lily would love to have company." Rachel left, promising to return at the end of the afternoon to pick up Ethan. During the next few hours, William watched fascinated as Lily cared for Ethan with a patience and kindness that went far beyond her 10 years. She included him in all the games, introduced him to Martha, and even taught him how to help take care of Duke. Ethan, in turn, began to gradually relax. William heard him whispering to Duke about how much he missed his own dog and saw the boy smile for the first time when Duke licked his face. In the afternoon, when Rachel came back to pick up Ethan, the boy was clearly reluctant to leave. "Mr. William," said Rachel, "I don't know how to thank you. Ethan spoke more today than in the last 2 months. It was a pleasure to have him here. Mr. William." Ethan tugged on the hem of William's shirt. "Can I come back tomorrow?" William looked at Rachel, who smiled. "If you don't mind, sir, I think it would be wonderful for Ethan." "Of course you can come back, Ethan, whenever you want." After they left, Lily approached William. "Daddy William, I think I know what surprise Aunt Emily was talking about." "What?" "Ethan, he needs a family just like I needed." William knelt down to Lily's height. "Lily, do you understand that adopting Ethan would mean dividing our attention, that you would have to share everything?" "I know, but Daddy William, do you remember how lonely I felt before I came to live with you?" "I remember." "Ethan feels the same way. And Duke likes him. Duke always knows when someone is good." William looked at Duke, who was lying by the door as if waiting for Ethan to return. "And you would be sure you want a little brother?" "I do. Martha always says our table is too big for just 3 people. That night, William called Dr. Richard. "Richard, I think I'm going to need your services again." "Another adoption?" "Maybe. I'm still thinking, but I wanted to know what the procedures would be." "William, are you sure? Adopting a second child is an even greater responsibility." "I know, but Richard, today something happened that reminded me of how Lily came to me. And I'm starting to believe that some things really are destiny." During the next few weeks, Ethan spent every afternoon at William's house. Gradually, he began to open up more, talking about his parents, about the dog he had lost, about his fears. Lily proved to be a natural big sister, protecting Ethan, while at the same time encouraging him to be independent. Martha, in turn, was clearly delighted with the idea of having another grandchild to care for. 1 month after the first meeting, Rachel approached William again. "Mr. William, I need to be honest with you. Ethan has refused to consider any other foster family. He only talks about coming back here." "And what does that mean?" "That if you're interested in starting the adoption process, there would be no obstacles. Ethan has no close relatives, and he's clearly adapted well here." That evening, William gathered Lily and Martha in the living room. "I have an important question for you," he said. "How would you feel if Ethan came to live with us forever?" "Really?" shouted Lily. "He can stay?" "If you want him to, yes." Martha was smiling widely. "Mr. William, this house has always had room for more love. Ethan would be welcome." "Lily," said William, "are you sure? Because once we start the process, there's no going back." "Daddy." "William, yesterday Ethan asked if he could call me sister. I said yes, but that I had to ask you if I could be his real sister." William hugged Lily. "In that case, let's bring Ethan home." 6 months later, on another sunny morning in court, William was once again officially adopting a child. Ethan, now 6 years old, was wearing a little suit that Lily had insisted on buying for the occasion. "Ethan," said Judge Dr. Williams, "do you want William to be your father?" "I do," answered Ethan, "and I want Lily to be my sister forever." "And William, do you promise to care for Ethan as your own son?" "I do, Your Honor." "Then it's done. Ethan Davis Thompson, welcome to the Thompson family." When they left the courthouse, they found an even bigger surprise waiting for them. Michael had organized a full welcome party, with family, friends, and even Sister Margaret and Rachel. "Congratulations, William," said Michael. "Now you officially have the family you always deserved." That night, after Ethan fell asleep in his new room, decorated by Lily with dog themes, William did his usual routine of stopping by each child's room to say goodnight. "Daddy William," said Lily when he passed by her room, "thank you for letting Ethan stay. Thank you for helping me realize our family was incomplete. Is it complete now?" William thought for a moment. "For now, yes. But you know what I've learned? That family isn't about numbers. It's about love. And there's always room for more love." William went down to the living room and sat in his favorite armchair. The house was full of sounds of life. Ethan whispering to Duke in his room, Lily organizing her books, Martha humming as she finished tidying the kitchen. He took Emily's letter from his pocket, where he always kept it. "Thank you, my love," he whispered, "for teaching me that love doesn't shrink when it's shared. It multiplies." From the garden, Duke barked softly, as if in agreement. William looked out the window at the little house where it all began, where a frightened girl had asked to sleep with her dog. Now she was his daughter, had a brother she adored, and a complete family. And in William's heart, where there was once only pain and loneliness, there was now a deep and lasting joy that he knew Emily would completely approve of. Because sometimes the best families aren't the ones we're born into, but the ones we build with love, patience, and the wisdom to recognize when someone has been sent to stay. End of story. So what did you think of this heartwarming story? Could you picture William's transformation from a man closed off in his pain to a loving father of 2 special children? Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most. If you have a similar story to share, or if you know someone who went through something similar, leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you believe Lily and Ethan brought William back to life? We'd love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.